What up, everybody? Thanks for joining me. I do appreciate it so very much. Yeah, I'm excited to be here and talk about ProQuest season. Obviously, I've said this 1,000 times, but RTNs and ProQuest are just by far like some of my favorite events. Period to attend in Flesh and Blood. That perfect combination of, a little bit of competitiveness, but you also just hanging out with buds, right? People that, maybe you see every, 2 to 3 months, whatever the case may be. You get to see them, hang out, have a good time. Everybody's not taking it, like, super serious. I guess some people are, but, like, a lot of people are just, there to just, like, hang out, play a competitive card game, and, like, I don't know, just something about it. I love it. And always, the first video kind of leading up to the ProQuest season, I always kind of do the same thing where I'll do like a little meta analysis, just generalized, right? To give people a good, you know, not too long, right? Because we just got done doing the tier list, right? And we're just going to do a little meta synopsis, if you will. And from that point, I always find it interesting because I see video after video after video from and this isn't like saying it's a bad thing or anything. I think it's an interesting kind of dynamic that I see like video after video of like you should play this during ProQuest, or this is your best chance of winning, and things like that. Um and there are people that are looking for that information, but I think the most important thing to keep in your back pocket, or at least the way I approach it or look at it, is there's a simple fact that a lot of players at ProQuest season don't have access to 15 different decks. And maybe they haven't bought into Verdance, right? Or whatever the case may be, and they don't have access to that hero. Nor do they have any reps, right? So saying, if I say a blanket statement of Verdance is like the deck to bring, well, that's not true, because there's a lot of players that don't have the cards, that don't have the reps, whatever the case may be. So I'd like to create this video, or this stream right before, um, and literally just give people the opportunity, one live, anybody that we're gonna get to a point to where I'm just gonna open up chat and let the floodgates open, and just bombard me with questions. But you know, those people will obviously get a direct answer on like, this is what's at my meta. And that's another aspect of it. Okay. How to play the hero, access to the cards, but like I've been in some rooms that are like all ninja that have no reason being all ninja, right? In a ProQuest level, because the meta is so localized, right? So maybe we'll just say hypothetically Verdance is the best deck, or whatever the case may be. If everybody for some reason your local meta loves playing a deck that beats Verdance, that is not good advice. That is actually like detrimental advice, right? And so I like to provide, the most direct answer that I can for people to just bring them more value as far as what they should bring. And same thing for sideboard. If you have any sideboard questions, I'm going to open up the floor for that as well. And yeah, I just like to give that. And then if you are seeing this in the VOD, you know, I would love to see you during the live stream as well, so because I could answer your questions. Throw it in the comments. I would love to, maybe you couldn't, maybe you're, in Europe or something, different time zone. I get it. Everybody can't be here, and I want you to get your answers as well. And yeah, and let's say you don't want to leave a comment or ask directly. Listening through it, I guarantee you somebody's going to ask a question that is very similar to the meta that you're going to have, right? Because there can only be, I don't want to say that. I don't want to start that, open that can of worms where there can only be so many meta possibilities, right? And that's true to like an extent. There can always be a little bit of a difference, but like a lot of people are going to say a lot of Syndra or a lot of Florian or whatever the case may be. And me giving, you know, that person the best advice that I can possibly give can translate to somebody actually watching the VOD. So I'm gonna try to make it as valuable as I can for those people as well. But I just like doing this stream specifically to give people tailored advice because that's the only way. Now, at a calling, you don't need that, right? Um, the calling can be derived from tower shard data or whatever the case may be. But PQs and RTNs, man, they are literally the Wild West. You just because something has a 61% win rate on Talishar doesn't mean it's going to fucking be there. That's just a reality of it. And man, I've walked in some of those rooms and got burned for it too because I thought I was like next leveling it. So yeah, we're gonna do that. First things first, we're going to just generally talk about the meta. We did have a calling, so we're gonna talk about kind of some adjustments to the tier list or kind of where our thoughts are. And we'll go from there. And then so in that we're not gonna spend too long, maybe 10, 15 minutes tops. And then I'm just literally gonna let the floodgates open and save your questions for that moment. And I would love to answer any questions that anybody has, whether it be, what to bring, what to put in your sideboard for this or that, macro strategies. You ask it. I'm gonna answer questions till chat stops or until I run out of time, whichever happens first. No promises, but I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do the best I can. So let's go ahead and hop in to a little bit of data. I guess would be the best place to actively start. Of course, after I get caught up in chat. What's up, Jonathan? Good to see you. Uh, dang, first, dang, stream first thing in the from Japan. What time is it in Japan? I guess it would be like 8 a.m., right? Yeah, because well, Hong Kong is 12 hours, 13 hours. I know, depending on daylight savings and all that fun stuff. I'm guessing it's anywhere between 7 and 10 a.m. So, I mean, hey, grab you a cup of coffee. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Let's go ahead and dig in. We do have a lot of data from the results from the battle hardened and okay, so I was relatively right. 10. Okay, awesome, awesome. So not too early. He at least you're at least up. um. Okay, so we have a lot of data from the event. Of course, it is like literally the first event of the new meta. So a lot of people are gonna like take this and like run with it. I personally think that's a bad idea. People have not had the time to adjust because and I'll give you a perfect example, right? If you look at a lot of tier list, people had KO in S tier, best deck in format. People were calling for bans before the meta even started, and he doesn't even have a winning, percentage, right? Literally 47%. And that's because people literally can just block them out and say, look, have that back to back hand. And they just, a lot of times, they can't do it. It's literally that simple. That's why the Florian matchup is dog shit. That's why it will always be dog shit. And yeah, it just is what it is. So, players now, just giving an example in this setting, maybe everybody had a lot of tech for KO because they were just expecting a lot of it. Going forward, it's very reasonable to accept to come to the conclusion that KO is going to be there, right? Because he is a good deck, he's a solid deck, but he has a little bit of a weakness, and it can be preyed upon. So maybe the representation dips a little bit, right? That's a easy conclusion to come to. Does that hold during PQ season? Almost said pew pew season, but that's hilarious. Um, is that a reason to like, not side form or not have a good plan into it? Probably not, right? Because once again, a lot of players at the ProQuest season just don't give a shit about this data, right? They're gonna play what they want to play. Uh, they're gonna play what they have the cards for, and that's gonna be it, right? Whether it's the best deck, the worst deck, whatever the case may be. So um, I think that's a very good mentality to have, that there will be less KO going forward at bigger events, right? At callings, battle hardened, maybe not battle hardens, but like calling and above. I think it's a very safe assumption that the representation of KO will dip. Is it gonna go sub double digit? Probably not. It'll probably stay at like a healthy 10%, something like that. But it's not going to be that, getting close to that 20 or whatever it was floating around, like 16, whatever percent. Um, so yeah. And then we have Syndra obviously doing really good. A lot of people expected that. Of course, Gravy, that's what I had as my number one pick, which had a really high win percentage. And then you had Verdance as well. And yeah, we kind of have a okay. I will admit, on my tier list, I think I got the Kano placement wrong. After kind of looking at it, I think Kano is a lot better positioned than I initially believed. And this isn't coming from like, he didn't even top 8, right? But I still think after things have settled, right? Because the one matchup I would be worried about is KO. Because he has the aggression, he has a high blue count, he has very convenient AB that he can just kind of put in. Yeah, as his number dwindles, a lot of your other matchups are perfectly fine. So I think I was way low on the Kano ranking, and a lot of people were hating on the Dash IO ranking, and I'm going to explain that. I think that holistically, like Dash IO is strong, right? And what I'm worried about, okay, here's something that I'm going to predict happens. I don't know how it's going to happen, but this is what I'm thinking, and I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, then I am wrong about Dash IO because my thoughts about Dash IO literally depend on this movement. What I'm predicting happens is obviously Florian did not have a good outcome, right? And what I think is going to happen is people are actually going to come to the realization that KO, yes, the one with the 11% win percentage, that KO is kind of doing the Florian game plan, but possibly, and this is going to sound a little crazy, maybe he's doing it even a little bit better. And maybe better is not the right word, but he has access to a couple cards that really, really make it a lot easier for him. A good example of that is, right? Like imagine you're doing kind of the same thing as Florian, which you obviously have a bad Verdance matchup, according to this data. You can just run Arg Smash into the RKO deck, and you have enough life gain with sigils and stuff like that to where you can like really easily fatigue a Verdance, right? Especially one at your Proquest like that. Well, depending on your Proquest, I guess. But yeah, you kind of see my idea. So he's kind of doing the same thing, right? And the only difference is that you kind of have access to a couple different tools. You have Flesh Bag, you have Arc Smash, you have a little bit more life gain in your kit because you have like convenient life gain, not just Germinate. Um, and then, so why? What does that have anything to do with Dash IO? Well, once again, Arc Smash, their items when they're setting up because you're actively trying to fatigue them is absolutely detrimental. If you thought the Florian matchup was bad, imagine if Florian could just delete your items and have a flesh bag for the first opportunity you had Max V. That is not a good combination. So the reason I put Dash IO so low on my tier list was because I am anticipating the representation of other KO to either match Florian. That's not going to happen because it's going to take a long time for people to come to this realization. They're going to have to refine deck lists, things like that. But slowly he's going to creep up. He is what should happen. And Florian will still have a high representation. He'll still get a lot of LL points, and maybe he even LLs. What should happen is that LLing should just expedite KO just taking that spot. And once that happens, then we have the Dash IO situation. So right now, in a snapshot in time today, I think Dash IO is a really good deck. But once RKO fills that gap, I think it's going to get dicey really quick. That's kind of where my thought process is. But we're a ways from that. And we still have a lot of people trying to figure out what Pleiades is actually actively trying to do. We saw the very impressive Victor matchup with the um, kind of just pitch stacking the cast homes and then reoccurring them with remembrance. Very interesting idea. But one thing that I want to keep in mind is once again, anytime we have a tech or a macro plan, don't underestimate people's ability to counter said plan, right? That was a good Florian player paired up into a newer strategy that maybe they had not been experienced to, and they kind of drew like shit, to be honest. A lot of all red hands, you name it. So maybe once they know the matchup and they come up with their own game plan, maybe it's not favored. Maybe a Victor player that tries the same thing doesn't beat four Florians in the same tournament, right? Maybe they go 1-3 in the matchup. So much can change, and it's very important not to just see an immediate result or something that just happens and then just be like, "Oh, Victor's an amazing pick because you're really good into Syndra, and nobody has the ability to adapt because everybody's just a bunch of people that can't innovate, right? That's not the case. That is literally not the case. So I want to kind of shed some light on those two decks specifically, and I don't think there's any other ones that really need discussing. I mean, we knew it wasn't time for Prism. We knew, yeah, I think the KO win rate's about to shoot up just astronomically once people get a decent list together. In fact, full disclosure, RKO is what I'm bringing to PQ season. That is the deck that I will be playing. I have the cards literally just came in today. That's the deck that I'll be playing for my PQ season. Either that or Pleiades, believe it or not. As surprising as that may be, that is my current intentions. So we will go from there. As far as any other developments or anything like that, I think Fang had an underperformance. I would like to kind of analyze. I'm kind of curious about that. I don't, the results are not matching kind of what should, there was a lot of, let's see if we can like figure it out. Was there one matchup that you just had like a disproportional amount of matchups into it? Like there were 6 matches of Fang versus Acilio, with Acilio being at such low representation, which is a terrible matchup for Fang. Also, Fang was losing against Marionette, which is, I personally don't think that should happen, especially if Fang is on like that higher D react count. But I guess it depends on list. Uh, one matchup's not going to make a difference. One matchup, 10 into Verdance. So that's a bad spread as well, right? And then gravy, so not even favored into gravy. Okay. So that makes me, that should not be the case, by the way. And so I don't know. I don't think this number is real. I can't tell you why. I just don't think it is real. Am I saying things like absolutely busted? No, but he's better than that. I can guarantee it. Um, the answer's got to be Levia. Uh, yeah. So it could also be not Levia, but I like the ambition. I like the ambition. Got 22nd at the Battle Harden in Proquest Guadalajara on Decimator. Great Axe Bolton was on feature match. Oh my goodness. Decimator Axe Bolton. The most degenerate because you can give it. Go again. It's actually disgusting. Oh man. That's actually hilarious. There's nothing to attack with afterwards, but you do have the ability to do. All right. So I think, I mean, that's just, I don't think this weekend was actually that surprising, right? There wasn't that much stuff going on. I don't think anybody, I think KO was the biggest shock to everybody. this KO, and everybody expected him to do really well, and he just didn't. Right? I think that's the biggest shock to the meta from what people were experiencing. So you know, that's what we're kind of looking at, and I'm curious to see kind of how um, the meta kind of shifts after that, because theoretically your mid-rangey decks should lose a lot of equity because that's what's best into KO. You typically don't want to race KO and like leave it down to draws or anything like that. You want to like block a lot, wait for him to brick a hand, and then just kind of get some free value. It's kind of how you mainly want to play that matchup. You don't want to fatigue him, don't want to go that route, but like just let him mess up a couple times, and then usually you get enough value to kind of take it home. So that should devalue Florian even more if KO kind of goes, right? Because then you got Syndra stepping up, Gravy stepping up, even Verdant stepping up if the Florian player is not solid in that matchup. So it's actually really, really interesting. Keep Claws alive, I pray. I mean, we'll see. We'll see. There's still, if I'm not mistaken, there's a question mark next to the other KO's signature weapon. I'm curious what that actually is. Um, so pretty straightforward, nothing crazy. Trying to just skim one more time. I think Kasaya could be a little bit higher than that. I'm not, you know, I don't think that's like exactly representative. Dory, yep, that seems accurate. Reinar had a really good weekend, although it wasn't Eugene. We'll still take it. Um, Reinar is, I said in my tier list that he's probably the best he's ever been, and that I was expecting a lot out of him. I wasn't expecting that. But man, Reinar, it's just hard to evaluate because so much of your game is on mathematical probability. It literally is. But man, some people embraced it, and it worked out. I love to you love to see it because it is well positioned. I mentioned that during the tier list that he's very very well positioned, and we saw Slippy just kind of falling down. We knew that Mario was going to be the better assassin. Whether people actually what was the matchup? Yeah, there were twice as many Arachne marionette matches than there were Slippy, so that was confirmed. We kind of saw that one coming. There were some people memeing on the Huntsman, and yeah, everything was a couple people trying to make Katsu work again with another combo card that doesn't really do a whole lot. And then Lyeth didn't win a game. So there we go. The more we know, the more we know. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open up chat to so once again, if you weren't here for the initial spiel, basically what I like to do is everybody says you should like we have the question in chat right now. Just tuned in. What three decks would be the highest chance to win a PQ? Right? Like one, I don't know what cards you have access to. Right? Maybe you have four heroes that you could put together before this weekend. And me telling you a hero that's really good that you don't have access to doesn't do you any good. Second, maybe you don't have any reps on them, and that doesn't do you any good either. Third, your whole PQ season is literally just its own meta that has nothing to do with this data that we're looking at. So that's I want to give the best personalized advice that I possibly can. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to throw them in chat now. The things that I recommend is the more information you give me, the better answer I can give you. Tell me what decks you have access to, what your local meta looks like. Tell me how comfortable you are on the decks that you can pick from, and I'll give you the best advice that I possibly can. An example would be I have access to Reinar, Victor, Florian, and I've been playing Florian the longest, right? My meta is Syndra, Gravy, and a couple Fangs or some warrior players because they just can't learn. I'm just throwing shade at Warrior players. Um, but like that would be a good idea, and I could say, okay, go with this deck or this deck, and go from there, right? So feel free, just throw it in chat whenever you want. Also, um, another thing, if you're on the fence about a sideboarding decision, throw that into chat. Maybe maybe you've locked in your deck, right? And you're like, man, I just can't really figure out this one matchup. Let me talk for a couple seconds about the macro game plan or a couple sideboarding options or anything like that. And I would love to just give you the best, most honest advice I possibly can. Is it going to be perfect? Probably not. But it's way better than me just saying, these are the three best heroes, buy cards net. Like, it's just not doing anybody any good, right? So I don't want to do that. So I want to tailor everything as much as I possibly can. And then if you see this on the VOD, wait for something that represents close to what your situation is. Would be the best thing I can advise. Let me pull up chat real quick. Dustpath Pilgrimage DGA is the most degenerate thing I've ever heard of, but I love it. I love it. But there is no way it'll be as good as Claw. You're probably right. You're probably right. The thing is though, is Brute oppressive with claws? I would argue no. If you take claws away from Brute, they're actually dog shit. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, just think about it. Levia without claws. I mean, you basically have to go Hexagore. I guess you can also do like some cheeky meat axe or what's the not meat axe. The other club. I don't fucking know what it's called. I don't play that deck. But you know, the one that discards the top card of your deck, and if it's like a 6, it does something. I don't know. That's like an idea. But yeah, I just and then Rhinar having to go to club Rhinar. Ugh. Like you just give up the gravy matchup on the spot. Oh no. So yeah, hopefully something that gives you a source. Not only that, but like this might be a hot take for some people, but like Blood Rush Bellow is kind of ass if you don't have claws. Like it's actually a bad card. On the flip side, think about brute players. Hang in there with me a little bit. Think about the cards that you would get access to if they didn't have to really balance with with balance conflicting with Blood Rush Bellows. I'm just saying you might finally get some actual blue sixes. I'm just saying. Maybe. Maybe. Can't promise anything. Because obviously I have no impact on it. Feels good, and all I have Dash.io, RKO, Katsu, Rhinar, Syndra. All you have is like 14 decks. Yeah, okay. No, I'm just kidding. So I am personally bringing RKO, a list that's very close to the one that Damien just recently streamed this week. I'm going to bring something probably very similar to that. Make some adjustments, but I'll probably bring something very close to that. I think it's a good pick. But once again, I got to know what your local area is playing because that's going to be the most impactful thing to determine, what it is. Just in general, if you are a good player and have access to all. So, I mean, if that's the case, if you're in general a good player and have access to all, the question that I would kind of ask, okay, you asked another question. Basically, I've previously taught PQs, RTNs. I have been playing since Aurora Armory decks. Since then, I've played Aurora Kano Slippy. I'm thinking of spamming 100 games of Celia before PQs. Ultimately, it depends on what's in your local area, right? If you have a lot of Florians and gravies and things like that, I think that's a great idea. Just jam some games. And I think that at a PQ level, you don't have to like be an Acilio master, to eke out a win, right? Like literally just having the matchup diff it could literally be enough. You could also Acilio in 3 and drop. that is a possibility, but you just gotta weigh your options. So ultimately, I think it really, if you're a solid player and you have access to most cards, I would play whatever counters literally your meta is. Um, and the fact that you're going toward Acilio would lead me to believe that there's probably a lot of Gravies, Florians, shit like that. Okay, totally agree. Better to play a D tier deck, like the back of your hand, than an S tier deck with no experience. Yeah, it really just depends on the situation. Some decks are so strong that that's not the case. Like a good example of that would be like Zen. Anytime during his lifetime in the classic constructed uh, format, Zen was not that complicated to play, but so powerful, right? And so he was kind of like a good example of like an exception. But in general, at that level, I agree. At calling, that goes out the window. You have to have a base power level to compete at that level to have like a really good performance. But PQ, generally, I agree. I could play Florian Verdant's Gravy. There's going to be no ninjas. It's a really good tip of the hat to Gravy, but mostly Florians and Gravies. Okay, so I think what that's going to come down to you is how comfortable are you in the Gravy mirror? If you think you can skill gap your locals, right, or semi locals, or whatever the case may be, I say send it on Gravy, 100%. If you are not, then I think you have to go Verdance to gain an edge into both. It would be the kind of avenue that I would take personally in your situation. So if you're really comfortable in that gravy mirror and you can skill gap them, go for it. If not, go Verdance. My pick is Rhinar. I think he can take advantage of the mid-range decks and go toe-to-toe with any of the top decks right now. 100% agree. Just be willing to accept that general variance with the brute class. It is what it is, right? My pick is Sir Bolton. We have a really diverse metagame, and almost every hero is represented in some capacity. Man, Bolton. I'm curious to hear why. You also said I have Fang, Kasai, Bolton. Bolton has my most games. If you have that many more games, I think the other two decks are way better than Bolton, my opinion. But if you have so many reps on Bolton that doesn't really translate to Kasai and Fang all that much, it might be worth it to you. That's something that only you can answer because there is no relevant there is no real relevant meta information because it's just kind of widespread. Which mechanologist should I play and why is it max? And that's because it is max. Um yeah, if you have if your bedtime is really early, you should definitely play max so you can get home and get to bed on time because you don't want to stay up too late, right? Um, Max would be the perfect hero to accomplish that goal in. But other than that, if you wanted to take the event seriously, uh, I'm talking so much shit. I would go Dio 100% if I'm playing mech. I just don't like the built-in variance of Puffin on the payoff situation. There's a lot of arsenal disruption, so you can't comfortably set up anything. And I don't think Max is that bad, but like, man, people are really catching on to Augur Smash right now. I would go to TCG Player, see what the sales volume is on that card, and if it's cranked up a lot, I'd probably leave Max at home because he just gets you suit up in that. You take 20 minutes to set up in your little mechanoid, and then he just deletes it with two cards. It'd be the worst feeling ever. But yeah, memes aside, Dio. But if you got to roll Max, you got to roll Max. I get it. Somebody's got to buy the armory deck. A little bit more shade to top it off. Basically, I have previously top peak. Oh, we already answered that one. I can take everything at the moment. You have to let me know. Okay, I'm probably gonna play Verdance instead of Kano, though. Got my Kano on Worlds qualifier on my net. I love Kano right now. In fact, a little short story. I used to go to Armory previously. I would have to drive. Literally, I'm not kidding. In a car, an hour and 45 minutes one way. So I would have to drive in a car for 2 and a no, 3.5 hours, if you count there and back, to go to an armory, okay? That's how far I had to travel. So, your boy didn't go to armory. It's literally that simple. However, there is a store that is literally 15 minutes away, and they had their first armory this past weekend. And guess who went to the armory? Not your boy. No, I'm just kidding. I was 100% there, right? Had to support the local game store. And plus, it's just so convenient. It's like literally 15-minute drive. I can't get to a gas station in 15 minutes, much less a card shop. Hell yeah, I was there. And guess what I played? Guess what your boy played? Fucking Kano. Hell yes. Just okay. It's funny that I'm saying this. In a previous stream, I said that my favorite moment in Flesh and Blood is when a Kano player says, "If I had one more resource." That is like my favorite moment in Flesh and Blood, period, is when I hear a Kano player say that. But my second favorite moment in Flesh and Blood was when somebody oasis my wildfire, and then I kindle a second one onto the top of my deck. And then I resolve that one before the other one resolves. So it amps that one and nullifies the oasis. Boy, I tell you, that was a good feeling, okay? Double wildfire into blazing. Oh, it was nasty work. It was absolutely filthy, and it felt amazing, okay? So I talk a lot of shit about Kano players, but the shit's fun, okay? It is actively a fun deck to play, and I actually enjoyed it. So I'm all in on Kano. Like that's what I would bring between those two. Just it's fun. It's good right now. You don't have a lot longer to play it. Run it. Florian is very tough generally. He does. Yep. And how to beat him. Can't do the same with Verdant. She is so consistent. It's just tough. It is tough. You gotta tell me what deck you have, and I'll try to help you the best I can with your Verdant's matchup. Do you think this is a meta where Fatigue Guardian could thrive? I do not. And that is because you still got Florian. KOs, as we saw on stream, can literally out fatigue you. That's why I don't like the idea of if they're good. They really have the ability to just push enough damage to really get there. But what they can't do is do consistent numbers just over and over and over again. And, I think blocking and waiting for opportunities to push value is the way to approach that matchup. So I really don't like the idea of Fatigue Guardian right now. However, keep it in your back pocket. I think the moment is coming soon. Just not right now. I think we're on the horizon. Maybe I'm kind of guessing not for Worlds, but maybe after when we get, a new Monarch set. That's usually a good window of opportunity for Fatigue, right? Because Vinny, example, right? Bolton, those are decks that typically are a little bit more susceptible to those types of things. So not right now, but maybe in the near future. Ravenous Meat Axe. That's what I was talking about when I was talking about the club. Tons of XP on Vincent, some XP on Florian and Marionette. The rest of the decks I own, I've barely played, so don't play those. My meta is hard to guess because we get out of towners. Okay. That's a good point. And sometimes it's so my area, we get like the same ones, and I just know, right? Like Jason from the Runaways likes to show up to a lot of our events and stuff like that, and I show up to a lot of his. And like I know he's on Dromai or Verdance, right? So I just kind of like put that in my back pocket, kind of know what he's playing, something like that. And watch this time he's playing something completely different and be hilarious. Shout out Jason. That's a cool cat. So I mean, it really just depends. Tons of XP on Benny, some XP. I'm not high on Benny right now. I'm really not. So I'd have to give it up to Florian. Marionette's not bad. Also, if you're ever in a situation like that, do not underestimate the ability. Like, okay, we've kind of ruled out Vinny, right? But we're like Florian and Mario. Put both in your bag. Get to the event. I guarantee you half the room is going to be laying out their cards, writing their deck. Well, probably not anymore because we submitted online. Anyway, people will be hanging out, looking through cards, stuff like that. You can get a good idea of like what's there, and then make your kind of final decision based on what's just open information in the room. Is kind of something that I'm kind of a fan of. RKO, yeah, that's what I am bringing. If that's what you're referencing, I have access to Levia. Tiger Ira. I didn't even know Tiger Ira was a thing. I know you like make one occasionally with the boots to kind of get a Shuko activation. Bolton and maybe Archaeo. If I get the cards in time. I have most of the reps on Levia going 3-3 with her in my last PQ. Local meta's Gravy, Syndra, Florian. If you can dodge the Florians, I think Archaea, but the Gravy's not that great either. And Syndra's kind of a 50-50. Oh, I think it's Ira play. Ira would get my vote for your local meta. But make sure it's very aggressive Ira, not fucking 14D reacts, none of that bullshit. I mean, it needs to be balls to the walls aggressive to keep up with Florian and of course Gravy. The only thing holding me back on RKO is my local metagame being 1/3 Florians. That's a great reason not to play RKO. That is a fantastic reason. Terrible matchup. I have access to all brutes, ninjas, rune blades, and mechs. Answers rune blade. Don't even have to read the rest. I do not have Ataya. I want to play Max or Tough Nut. Tough Nut. That's I love it. I love it. To answer your question, I need to know what your local meta is to give you a good answer. My meta cannot be countered. We have a jungle. It'd be like that. Oh, it'd be like that. 100% getting like 10 to 20 people out of town. Yeah, that's one of those tough spots where you just can't. You kind of have to base it on, are they meta chasers, the people who come in from out of town? More people that are willing to travel further typically are. So I don't know if it's you just gotta kind of speculate a little bit, but that is a little unfortunate. Any must-have cards for Jarl you guys can think of in Super Slam. So I would 100% love nothing more than to give you the answer to that question, but I have no clue. I have absolutely no idea. The people who I would ask that question to, I tell you what, if you want to hop in the Card Guys Discord, link should be in the description. Ping Damien or Ed, and they would love to answer that question. I try to get you to the right person. I am more than okay telling you that I don't know something. I never claim to know everything. And the second that I recognize that I am not in the territory to give any type of advice, I'm a fan of just shutting the fuck up. So that's exactly what I'm going to do in this situation. But we would love to get you that answer in the Discord. So just hop in there if you're not already in there and ping one of those guys, and they would love to give you the answer. I would love to answer it. I just don't know, to be honest with you. Can you explain why Teklo is the best positioned hero in the meta right now? So you should also get in the Discord and ping nobody to ask that question. No, I'm just trolling. It's not. It just isn't. Best position hero in the meta. Man, that is a statement. That is a statement. Honestly, though, kind of respect it. Kind of respect it. I am a little bit behind on chat. I'm getting caught up, but this is good. This is good. I'm gonna answer all. I guarantee I'm gonna keep going. And if I miss you, just repost it, and I can't miss the same thing twice, right? Probably not. We'll do our best. Can you explain? We already got that one because it was a meme. Catching up on the stream, but I wanted to ask: do you think Reinhardt KO is better positioned, Brute? Honestly, it really depends, right? If your local ProQuest season is extremely talented, like really, really good players, like you're in Texas region, you're playing against Brody and a bunch of runaways or something like, I would go Reinhardt, like dead ass. I'm not even memeing. But if I did not just describe your area, I 100% go KO. 100%. Don't even think about it. Do you feel it's better to play the deck I am best at, Mario, which has some bad matchups, or play the deck that I'm comfortable on, Acilio, but most players will have counter cards? If you know they're going to run Bell and things like that to really mess you up, I would lean into Mario personally, because you kind of have two things going against you. You have them countering you, and then you also have less reps. So I think the combination of, if it was just one of those, I would say send it on Acilio. But because you have both of those going against you, I think it's enough. I don't think Acilio's that much better than Mario. He is definitely better, but I don't think he's that much better to overcome the delta you're giving up between those two aspects. But thank you for your question. Always play your pet deck for higher events. Uh, Depending on your definition of higher events, I agree. So like PQs, RTNs, yes. Callings, no. Don't do that. Don't do that. Um, I'm this. Well, I guess depending on how many people you expect, maybe that does hold relevant. If you think it's going to be like a 100-person battle hardened or something like that, you can probably get away with stuff like that. I'm the Soul Florian. That's a good place to be, by the way. I have Wizard Prism. My meta is Brute Draconic Wizard. Brute Draconic. So you're saying Syndra and Fang probably, or you would have just said one or the other. Wizard. Wizard makes Florian bad. Prism's good into Syndra. Ooh, but Brute just dunks on Prism. I'm gonna be honest. I like the just roll the dice with Prism angle. I don't like telling you that, but I mean, honest to God, it's the truth. Like, I man, like wizards are just. I take that back. I take that back. Here's your answer. How good are your wizard players? Okay, ask yourself that, and if they're really good, go Prism. If they're bad, go Florian. Right? Maybe you can just eke out some wins, stuff like that. But that's kind of where I would be. Our meta is all over the place. Basically, you can come across to any deck, maybe excluding Tekla Volson. So they're not bringing the best deck. What's going on? I can build effectively any deck, but I'm mostly wondering between Syndra and Gravy. I've played Gravy more, but my playstyle generally tends to favor aggro. Then, so as far as Gravy, I think if there's not a lot of the first, I look at Gravy in kind of three levels, right? And then the bottom was just kind of miscellaneous everything else. In Gravy, you need to be comfortable in the mirror. Maybe there's not a lot of other Gravy players and you don't have to worry about that. So we go to level 2. You need to have a good game plan into aggro. If you're not feeling comfortable with your back against the wall against the Syndras and things like that, let's leave that deck at home. Let's take Syndra and just try to clean it up. That would be my best advice. Also, forgot to mention Gravy. So Wizard. Oh, you added Gravy with Florian. We're back on Prism. We are back on Prism. People hate me locally for playing Kano. Yeah. Terrible thing to do is show up to the first armory and play Kano, but it seemed like everybody was enjoying themselves. Um, Pleiades, just not your list. Oh man, almost as good as Briar Turns for 100. Almost as good. Not quite. Not quite. I mean, I might grab Kano for PQ as well because it all depends on how I'm feeling. I just think he's in a decent spot. But Verdance is just too good. I agree. She's the better pick. But man, there is definitely an angle for Kano. That's for sure. I only have Gravy. What should I play for Proquest? Well, if you like analyze the delta and you take the derivative and then you do the integral, it basically is going to tell you that you should play Gravy Bones. So I'm glad I could help you with that. Oh man, okay. It depends on which assassin. A good meal assassin. Stop it. Oh, Collins is here. Meal assassin. Kasai or Rippy? Answer is Kasai. The end. Kasai. It depends on how many. Yeah, that is the biggest question. Riptide or Assassin, just pick one. Assassin. I would go Mario. But see, I'm gonna say that, and then you're gonna bring like Huntsman, and it was like Gigabait. Like that's just what's gonna happen. Um, but yeah, I would have to go. I would say Slippy might even be a little bit better than Riptide, maybe. What do you think will happen at the Battle Hardened this weekend? Uh, I am looking for. I kind of mentioned this at the beginning. I'm looking for more of a transition off of KO as people begin to realize. I just realized that like I'm not even. I mean, fuck it, doesn't matter. Um, I'm expecting people to move off of KO, obviously, but believe it or not, I'm expecting a double down on Florian. I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I think people are going to refine their game plans, pivot some things up, and I think he'll come back strong. But KO, he's not going to just fall off, right? Like he's not going anywhere, but he is not going to be the most represented deck. Something will take that, probably Syndra, to be honest. And that's when some other decks are going to have the opportunity to kind of sneak in and maybe, eke out a little bit of an advantage. We're talking like Kasai. I expect to have a much larger breakthrough weekend, is kind of what I'm expecting. Red Boulder drop is okay. Not amazing, though. I mean, it's a 3 for 7. Like and it has a good on hit, but it's just like that's not the one thing that Guardian needed. It's a good card. Don't get me wrong. I'm actually curious what cards you think might give Levi. God dang it! You asked the hard question. A few more percentage points into Syndra. Ooh. Um. Give Levia more point. If there was ever a time I was wishing Ethan was in chat right now, it's now. Oh man. Levia into Syndra. I don't know. That's a tough one. Because I mean, go second. I can tell you that much. That's my advice. Win the die roll and go second. That's all you need to know. Oh, that's actually a good idea. Strong. Yeah. The card that if it hits, they have to reveal. That's a great idea. I think that's phenomenal. That is an absolute great idea. I know that's what KOs were putting in their deck to kind of shore up that matchup because it was feeling a little 50-50. So yeah, Strongest is a good pick. And I would definitely recommend it. Well, I wouldn't because you were the one that came up with it. But yeah, I think that's a great idea. What I was thinking of bringing is Marlin to my local PQ. I have no idea about my local meta as I don't go to locals. Well, that's a reason to go to locals, is so you know what you're playing against. But uh Marlin. I can't tell you if it's a bad choice or not because I don't know the meta. Marlin overall is not like the strongest deck. She's an okay deck. But I just don't know what else to tell you. My Tiger Ira is pretty mid range. She plays 2-card hands. Yeah, I would slap some. What's the card that if the dagger hit this turn, this gets what +1 and go again or whatever the case may be. That Scar for Scars, pain in the backside, just all that go again package, just yeet it in there. No need to be mid range, in my opinion. Is Valda viable? I don't think so. We should see a shift away from brutes, or at least the most represented brute, which makes, is she okay? Maybe. I'm in St. Louis if that helps. Oh, I have no idea what people play in St. Louis. I got no clue. We're all playing Kano week 1 Proquest. Yeah, hell yeah. I'm not. But yeah, let's go. Let's do. I'm gonna play Fang, but just want your thoughts. Uh, did you have a question that I missed? I mean, I think Fang's a fine pick. You need to have a very solid plan. I mean, you're kind of trying to pick on Florian and Gravy a little bit to an extent. One trap that I see a lot of players kind of falling into is trying to salvage the wizard matchup. Just let it go. Just let it go. You give up so much equity. I've seen people try to reduce their D-react count and side in some stuff. Just let it go. Just be good into your other matchups. Dodge them. It is what it is. Lean into it. Embrace it. I'm thinking Fang Kasai or maybe Florian, but I'm a little scared because there is a Acilio God in my local. I hate to be the person that tells you this, but Acilio beats all three of those. Literally all three of those. So it doesn't really matter now, does it? I have Bolton, but looking to build Kasai and have Dash 2. How to beat Verdance, I don't know. Bolton, I mean, Bolton's just Verdance is just the natural counter, right? Um, because she has a bunch of non-attacks that she wants to block with, and you have no hero ability. So that sucks, right? There's just no way to really sugarcoat that. And I think Dash is good. Dash is perfectly fine in Verdance. You have cheap AB, you have plenty of blues that you don't need all the time. So if you want to beat Verdance, I would just lean into Dash IO and let it do its thing. It's a harder deck to play, but if you can get some reps in it, you know. Colin said, "What's wrong with my Pleiades list? The fact that it's your Pleiades list. That's what's wrong with it. That's the problem. What do you think about a fatigue style gravy that uses remembrance to loop Conqueror of the High Seas? What? So you just like not playing allies? Because if you're not playing allies, see, it's kind of contradictory, right? Because if you're not playing allies, why the fuck are you playing gravy? Question one, right? So, all right, we've decided we're playing allies. Maybe not as many as NATO, but like we're playing allies, okay? From that point on, if we're playing allies, it's a no block. We have to play it, and we have to play a blue to play the damn thing. So we have to invest 2 cards. A lot of times the allies in discard, we don't have to manipulate it that turn. I get it. But like you actively have to play cards to do the thing. That's a lot of damage that you're taking. So I don't think you ever get to the game state that you are visioning, if that makes sense. If I brought Slippy, what should I replace Bonds with to target Earth? I'm going to need you to sit down for a second while I tell you this. If I'm being 100% honest with you, you couldn't put 12 cards in to solve the Earth matchup. The problem is you are if you get your on-hit effects, you are a very good aggro deck. If you don't get your on-hit effect, you are a head jab deck that their first attack gets go again and you start at less life. It's a square doesn't fit in the circle kind of problem. I wish I had this like magical answer to like solve all of your problems. The correct answer is you go play Mario. Still not a good matchup, but at least you like can win, right? You can just kind of sneaky kill him out of nowhere with a dagger for like 16 or something like that. You can have a lot more agency. So that would be okay. You wanted to ask what card you wanted to swap? I would swap the hero card. That's what I would do. But unfortunately, there's just not a one-to-one. I can't solve You could dedicate your entire sideboard, and I don't think you'd be a good Earth player. I mean, you can always win a game, but like it's bad. It is bad. Okay. Do you think a 46% win rate against something you expect to see a lot is enough of a reason to swap off the deck? It depends on the skill of your opponent and the skill of you. Okay. So this is where you got to be brutally honest about the people around you at your PQ season. Is like, these numbers are fine. Like, oh, let's say that you're 46 into the most represented deck. Well, if the average skill level of your, maybe it's a more skill intensive matchup to where the 46% isn't derived from like variance and it's actually skill based. That's a good place to be, right? Like Oldham's had some 46% matchups all the time, but that didn't stop players, right? Because they could just skill gap the shit out of people. It just literally is how it is. You need to have a lot of games before you decide to take Marlin. That is true. You have to assess future value, which is always difficult. Can I stick to Gravy in an unknown meta? Usually big turnouts and who knows what'll show up. I think it's a safe pick. In fact, if the meta's unknown, the best thing you could do is ask a question, not try to answer one. And Gravy's probably the best deck to really ask that question. Other than maybe Syndra. Nah, put those 3 Oasis in the deck, guys. You need it. Trust. Yeah. It's not going to save you. It ain't going to save you. What are Florian's trying to do to win the Verdance matchup? Last thing I heard was life gain and running Dread Scythe and basically counter pitch stacking tree to their combo. And then you just amp the Dread Scythe so that way that they basically take damage. Or you don't even need to do that. You're going to be walking the life totals down because they're going to be pitch stacking the combo. And you just you put yourself in a scenario where they're at lower life. And when they get to the pitch stack, you just put on a lot of pressure, failing, plow, whatever the case may be. And they can never get the full hand to actually execute the combo because guess what? You're over 40 life because you have fiddlers and, sigils, basically. Rhinar seems like the meta buster. Just go full aggro and Fridge Syndra. I mean, that is a good place to be. What do you think about Jarl? I don't know exactly what Jarl is kind of trying to attack. I would be very scared to play a deck that didn't have a really good matchup spread, but also just has a hard time with that. Okay, I'm just gonna block your attack and like give you full tempo, and then you throw like some little dirtly attack. Jarl typically does not do very well with tempo. You can try some cringe fatigue. Your fatigue typically does a little bit better during PQ season because the skill check is on the opponent. And so maybe you cheek out some wins, but I don't think it's a sustainable plan without like Oldham or something like that or CYB to really take it down. I did not have a question, and that was my thoughts on the Wizard matchup. Good, glad I could add it. I'm a talented deck builder for Azuri. I'll give you that. You can cook up some Azuri. Not to mention your Pleiades list is 10 times worse. That is not the case. It literally is not true. That list was goated. And it wasn't even my list. I was just playing it. No, you play allies. You just try to go to a late game. But so the point that I'm trying to make there is you're not the one that decides you go to a late game. The gravy player does not decide that equation. Who decides how long a gravy game is the opponent and whether they attack you or the allies. If they prio the allies, you have a longer game. If they attack you, much shorter game. So I would never build my deck to take advantage of one of those scenarios where I'm not the person that gets to choose it. Because you put remembrance in your deck or whatever your cheeky plan is, and you're like, and then they just go face. Like, what the fuck do you do now? Oh, you have more no blocks. I mean, you're just gonna get dumpstered. It's a very rough spot to be in. If I expect my meta to be mostly Earth and Gravy, is Reiner just the right choice? I think he's a fantastic choice in that situation. One that if I had a few reps and a solid deck list, I would probably bring it, to be honest. Feel like I'm expecting to play Syndra Ira, but thoughts on Katsu. I think Katsu is just cheeky, right? You have a lot of decks in the format that just want to block. Sure, you have a couple that don't. I'll give you that. But like, you look at most of the top decks, and none of them, I mean, none of them have any issue blocking 2 cards, 3 cards, maybe even 4 cards, whatever the case may be. And Katsu, sure, you can set up some shuriken and like tenacity, and you can do all these things. But man, I'm telling you, you're gonna play Surging Strike, and you're gonna be like, it has to hit, or this hand does nothing. And they're gonna put you in that spot, and it's gonna happen, and you're gonna question why you're playing that hero. Then you're gonna go buy Draconic cards. Happens every single time, guaranteed. A Forian is playing Deny Redemption. That's the life gain one that you discard after they use their 2 potions. So you have to be careful because it says if I'm not if redemption. Heroes can't gain life this turn. So one thing you have to be careful about this card is it can be responded to. Okay, so you have the right idea. You actually need to use if they have more than 1 potion, you need to activate it after the first one. But it is good. It is something that you can hover. Unfortunately, you can't hover it from Arsenal. That is an unfortunate aspect. So it really just depends on the situation. But that is also a good piece that really helps as well. Azuri is just a guardian with assassin text. That is truer now than ever because both are bad. Both are bad. But what can you do? What can you do? All right. I'm going to leave chat open for a little bit longer. If anybody has any questions, what should you play? What should you sideboard? Anything like that, I'm more than happy to help. Once again, this stream is more for just any viewer that wants an answer to some questions. That's not just you should play this deck, right? I'm trying to give tailored, information that's the most beneficial, and I hope everybody's kind of getting something from it. Because while I do think speaking general is really good about calling level events and things of that nature, when you step into the ProQuest level and RTN and things like that, I just really do not think that half of it is applicable. Honestly, like it to the point to where like I don't even understand the point of disseminating that information. Um, but it is what it is. What is your plan into Florian as RKO? So typically, what I like to do is go ahead and report the results in gym and just get to know my opponent, right? Ask them what high school they went to. Do they have any kids? Those kinds of questions, right? Because, yeah, there's no point in playing it. It is a terrible, I mean, terrible matchup. And it's once again, it's one of those square doesn't fit in the circle kind of situation where literally, I mean, it's not a sideboarding thing. You can't cheeky surprise them. I think your honest answer, like if actually answering your question, you have to like aggressively roll scab skins and you gotta hit. Okay? Like you cannot miss. You have to go. You literally got to go mocking blow, mocking blow, mocking blow, and that's like your only way. That's your only way to take it down. is you got to play three mocking blows in the same turn, and then you block out and you play like a swing big for free with no hand because you have like a bunch of bigger tokens. So that's the goal. Okay. Now, when that doesn't work out, don't be upset. Is all I'm saying. I'm trying to work on Tough Nut. Do you genuinely think he is doomed? I've always been high on Tough Nut. I think he's fine. I think that you just one, you're gambling in this in a couple matchups like Gravy, obviously. But no matter what your meta is, no matter anything, you have to build Tough Nut. I will say this for too many people are like, yeah, you can like get rid of your cards to make like 14 toughness tokens and you can do all these things. Yeah, and then you can also be stranded with a card in hand or like not actually get any fucking value from your toughness because somebody attacks for 3 or 4. Just focus on Go Again, Clash of Agility, Buck Wild. All of these Go Again cards, just slap them in there, block down. Remember your Clash cards. Other than Clash of Agility, you don't give a shit if you win. What you're doing is you are rock gaming. Okay. You are using the Clash to see what the top card is. If you clash and the top card's a blue, that gives you the okay to actively block your hand down. And then you just go boom, rock for 7. Deal with it. If you flip over a red, you cry and then you block your hand down and you IP win yourself, which is why you play a lot of yellows. But as an example, if you clash and a yellow's on top and you have a 2 cost in your hand, then you don't block your whole hand down. You keep the 2 cost. You pitch the top card and you play a card so that way you don't IP yourself. That is literally what I think is the optimal way to play Tough Nut. Period. No questions asked. If you're on club, you're throwing. Now, my rock list has club in it because you need something to do in matchups that don't interact with you, like you know, I don't know, wizards and stuff like that. Like you have to actually do something. So I put in the Go Again package and just swing club afterwards, right? Whatever the case may be. So, but you should be rock gaming. If you are not, you are playing a bad deck. Period. I don't care. You're playing worse fi is what you're doing. Period. No questions asked. What are your thoughts on Ira? I think she's solid. You just gotta play her really, really, really aggressive. Not a bunch of D reacts. You can have some, but your overall game plan is to be very aggressive, get some high value defensive cards in there. But overall, you need some Go Again. Okay. Now, if you don't mind my asking, what are Bolton's worst matchups? Any 80 card registered flesh and blood deck is Bolton's worst matchups. Now, in all seriousness, um, you imagine any deck that has a lot of non-attack actions that they can block with, they're willing to block with. And you can just roll down the list and it gets terrifying very quickly. Lorian, Gravy, Burdens, so many of those top decks just have a slew of non-attack actions that they are begging to block with, right? And you know, you if they do that, you are playing a hero that literally has no text. Okay? So that's his biggest problem. Now, if we're in a room full of ninjas and like, you get a bunch of the problem is like you still don't have hero text because the ninjas don't want to block you. So they have all the attack actions, but they don't want to fucking block you in the first place. So I take that back. Like I don't understand the point of that hero. Like ever since they printed the warrior helmet and literally invalidated the Lumina combo, I don't understand it. I do not. I know Yuki tried it and she won some games, but like, I don't get it. Sorry, Ellie. Maybe Ellie's just on a different level with the deck. I don't know. I just don't understand the point of playing the hero. In a meta where there is no good gravy players, what do you pick? I mean, that's tough, right? Because we don't know like what you're good at playing. But I mean, if there's no gravy, that opens the door for Florian, makes Florian a lot better. It also makes, maybe it opens the door for some Guardian. Guardian would not be a bad pickup depending on how many Florians you have. But the wizards are also there to kind of, haunt you a little bit. Dual wielding warrior might be a cheeky avenue, something like that, or Dawnblade Dory, because once you remove Gravy, other than Florian, like a lot of decks want to give you some cards, not all, and so maybe you can kind of take advantage of that. I'm kind of doubting that, but just some ideas. Tough Nut is fine, just needs a few more cards. I agree. I agree. I've been playing a list with more yellows and plenty of vigor generation. Yep, that's exactly what my list does. If you're looking for something to bounce some ideas off of, my Tough Nut list is in the Card Guys Discord under. I don't know where Kyle posted the. I played it in the show match against Blue Pitch. So it's in the Discord. It's probably under live stream decks, is probably the channel that it's in. Feel free to take a look at it there. It was really early before the set release. Like, give me a break on it, but like the idea is there. The idea is there. Okay. Bolton's worst matchup is having two cards that attack for 3. I tell you what. His half are the ones that say flesh and blood on the back. Damn. Oh shit. Just one more majestic yellow. Yeah, and one more dedicated legendary that only he can play. Because he only has 4 of them. So if he could just get a couple more of both of those categories, I think he's there. Okay. Is Bravo with suspense better than Pleiades because he's got better on hit? No. The reason I like where your thought process is, like, I think that's a very, good idea to kind of challenge. The downside in something that you're ultimately kind of, the value of suspense is the ability to move the counters, which obviously Bravo does not have the ability to do that. So you take like what happens next is easily the most busted aura in the Pleiades deck by a mile. Literally just cracked. It's like the aura that 90% of the time you just move your counter to it. That card is dog shit in Bravo because he can't keep it. He plays it and it just discounts 2 cards by 1. Not worth it. And if you hammer it, doesn't discount shit. So, like, the whole value of suspense, in my opinion, is the ability to manipulate it. Or in Elias' case, he doesn't give a shit. He's just trying to pump something. So you can make the argument of, okay, pumps for Bravo, but like, okay, has slogism ever been a solution for Bravo? Probably not, right? So I don't know. I think a lot of those pumps are also revered, not just Guardian Instance. So I think he doesn't even have access to the good ones, the ones that block 3 in their instances, and they're like 4, pump it by whatever, Act of Glory, whatever those are called. So sad Prism, yeah, Kevin is it's not looking good. It's not looking good. Although I think KO is going to start moving out a little bit. Maybe terrible performance. We can hope and dream. Don't play Super Slam. Don't play Super Slam Heroes in ProQuest. That's probably good advice. I'm not going to take it, and I'm probably going to play RKO. But that is good advice. Your win rate will probably be higher if you do not play Super Slam Heroes. That is probably a correct statement. Uh, Continue with D tier hero in Katsu or learn Gravy and actually have a chance to compete. Local meta includes both Earth heroes, Syndra, Kasai, KO. So you're not good against KO. I think he's got too much armor. You're not good against Kasai. She loves to block. She has boots for break points. You're good against Syndra. I'll give you that. You're terrible against Earth heroes as Katsu. I think you just need to bite the bullet and learn Gravy. I think it's as simple as that. If you want my honest opinion. If I'm playing Prism, you help me pick this. Oh Lord. Into Brute. This is off to a terrible start. Into Brute, Wizard, Gravy, and Draconic. Do I run AB2 arms? Well, we happen to literally have the Prism player in chat. Kevin, could you please answer that question? If they're playing Prism into Brute, Wizard, Gravy, and Draconic, do they run AB2 arms and feet into Kano? Or do they have a top 100 and he will play a lot of poppers? Oh, you have a top 100 and he will play a lot of poppers. Kevin's the one to answer that. So hopefully he's still here and he can provide an answer on whether you run AB2 arms and feet into Kano. I mean, arms and feet. Into Kano and he will play. Kano's going to play poppers? What? What did you do to piss him off? Holy. Kano with pot? Is that supposed to be KO? Only AB1, no space for AB2. Heard it from the man. That is the answer. So I should keep Phantasm. So what spot is that AB1 in? Oh, that's a good point. Burn Bear alone means footsteps. Great point. Yep. Yep, that's a good point. That is a great point. No, they're all Guardian, not only not revered. Okay. I'm a Prism main and Kevin Murphy. It's a rough meta out here. Yeah, it's not the best. It is not the best. We predicted it, and it did. Unfortunately, not fortunately, it did. You know, it did come to fruition. But I don't think the KO situation stays for long. So I think honestly, by around Worlds, it's not going to be a great place to be. But what I will guarantee you is it will be better. Not great, but better than today. I feel like KO is getting more mileage on the local level, similar to how Aurora got most of. I 100% agree. Like those low to the interesting question is, so there's 3 decks that can compete with the low skill level entry, smooth to play kind of spot, and that's Syndra, Florian, and KO. Those 3 decks historically have like just competed for that spot. And I'm curious who comes out on top because I'm actually anticipating that it's not KO because I think a lot of players are kind of nervous about buying the cards because people thought that he was going to LL real quickly. And so like maybe people weren't wanting to like invest in the card. So I think actually Syndra and Florian are going to etch out ahead. But it'll be interesting to see because KO did have an immediate up spike in as the most represented for the calling. So it'll be interesting to see. You can play Superman if your meta is Olympia, Betsy, and Bra. Oh, Super Slam. Oh, yeah. You definitely could in that situation. Gravy is super cheap right now. Um, so yes and no. Because I think that a gravy deck, because the tipple ban should include the Fable. And if you go to TCG Player right now, that Fable is $700. Okay. Now, you know, that presents a situation, right? You can fund the first 2 years of your college, or you can buy a Fable, right? So, like, it's not a straightforward answer. But what we do know is that Gravy needs the gold. That's the one thing he's low on. So an optimal, like max competitive deck, 100% has riches in it. 100%. Um, but I mean, that's the ultimate question: is you want to go to college for 2 years, or you want to buy a Fable? Choice is yours. It costs the same. Obviously, that's an exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying. Get what I'm saying. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. What do you think of LSS launching 12 heroes in 2025? Only playable heroes now is Syndra, Fang, Gravy, Mario, and Slippy. It's a problem for the game because we have 7 heroes. So it's an interesting. I get what you're saying, and I had a very similar thought process before, where I was kind of hesitant about the hero pool growing so much. But the more you really just kind of narrow it down, it's like half these decks, like you said, are not playable. So you don't have to plan for them. If that's kind of where are you referring more to they're creating unplayable heroes? And if that's your angle, then I have zero problem with that because the opposite of that would be MST, right? And we saw what that did. That was that was literally a mistake. And so, well, I don't want to say a mistake, but like it warped the game, and I don't think it was in a very positive game. It was a cool set, a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong, not hating on it. I'm just saying if it was less powerful, it would have been much better for the game, um, in my opinion. So I got no problem with heroes coming out and being unplayable. Where I want to draw the line is you have to leave room for like you take like Olympia as an example. You could literally unban cash in for him, right? You could unban cash in for only Olympia. And I don't think it changes anything. He literally has gold on the board in every piece of equipment. So every cash in he draws automatic, low cost, block with 2, you burn 1, you're good to go. Still dog shit. Still loses because he doesn't do anything else, right? Congratulations, you get 3 extra cards a game. Good luck, right? I'll just like I can either block you and then you can't like use the card, or it just there's a fund. He doesn't have a hero ability. I'm just gonna say it. Like I know there's text there, but doesn't fucking matter. I mean, there's no way to put it. Betsy, same thing. Overpower +1. Come on, come on. Like, and I get it. Like, it was a limited problem that they probably had to solve in the moment, and I understand what could have been the situation. Um, so like that level of bad, yes, I agree. It's not good for the game. 100% not good for the game. But it seems like every hero that is that bad that was created, other than I would say the only exception would be Arachne Huntsman. Most of those heroes seem like they were designed to solve a limited problem. Teklevosen, great example, right? For the limited format not to be in bright lights, not just be degenerate slapping each other in the face, you had to bring in a defensively postured hero. And that was Teklevosen. So every single one of those shitty heroes seemed like they just solved a limited problem. So, but like Pleiades isn't going to be there forever. You have Lyeth. I think Lyeth, they played it safe on the first 5 intellect here. That's my opinion. Maybe that's a solid point on your behalf. But, Tough Nut, I think he'll be solid one day. Needs a couple more go again cards. He'll be fine. And yeah, RKO is the best one out the gate. And I think he's really good already. So I think it's a fine like level of power. Keep hitting them dingers. Waiting on PQ guidance video. Question is, can we all safely take poppers out of the sideboard? It's always safe until it's not. But in all actuality, if there was ever a moment, I mean, I would literally be scared shitless to bring Prism this first weekend. Maybe week 4, it's a little bit safer. But this first week, when you have no idea if there's a major shift away from KO or not, you are literally rolling the dice. Um, so I'm not siding poppers. Now, if I just need blanch for gravy or something like that, like as a byproduct, sure, I'll just keep it as like killing two birds with one stone. I think Syndra is just so hard for brutes. It really you got to be good at blocking, and you the strategy that I have found the best is using your armor very early, not blocking in pieces. So don't like block a card and then a little bit of armor. Don't fall into that trap. Just go balls to the walls. Use your armor to stop those mash triggers, and then hopefully you can get them down to a life total to where you can like actually start trading. And when you start getting in those situations, you kind of win. But you're right. It really does depend on the hand texture of your first 3 hands. Bravo was Suspense Aura got me a Terra Sunder Anathos for 15. I'm waiting for the and I still lost. That's what I'm waiting for. Oh no. What's good into Florian and Syndra? Florian and Syndra. Ooh. What is good into Florian? That's ooh. You're like on opposite ends of the spectrum. Well, let's use our data. So KO, I mean KO is like a sweet like well no, because Florian just dumpsters KO. So Gravy no Fang. Fang is a good answer. Is Fang really that good into Syndra though? I don't fucking know. Syndra, Fang, it's not slightly unfavored. Definitely not Kasai. Kano? Ooh, answer's Kano. Actually, like dead ass. Um, yeah, answer is actually Kano. It's probably not what you wanted to hear, but gotta use the data if it's there. Thanks for developing the tool. It is like really, really useful. Absolutely. And the tier list thing, and it had the currently discussing. I know what you did. I know what you did. I see it. I see it. No, it's a really good tool. It's a really good tool. Really good work on it. Sorry, you just told me to play Prism into my meta. I think I'm going to break the gym and say they. I mean, that's what you got to do sometimes, right? I take Leviah gets an armory deck because she didn't get an expansion slot in Super Slam. No, the reason she didn't get a expansion slot card is because half of the set was brute. So she technically got like 60 cards. you know. So you can click on the hero name to select the row on the matchup. Yeah, might make it easier to visualize. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Look at that. Look at that. I tell you what, people that program, literally going to save the world. Yeah, they're currently discussing taking ideas. Hey, it's a good one. It's a good one. No, it's great though. It's absolutely phenomenal. Doo-doo-doo. The answer is Rhino. I mean, I think Rhino is in a phenomenal place. How do I approach the wizard matchup as Florian? Does Oasis, AB3, Tiara? So I think that that strategy works if your wizard players are not extremely talented or practiced. So at a PQ season, that may actually be a very lucrative strategy. However, if that's not the case, then it's not a good strategy. So ultimately, that question actually means how good are the wizard players? That's ultimately what it boils down to. The brute who lost a whole arm. I feel like KO should be most 38 life. That's actually a fair point, to be honest. How is he at 40 life missing an arm? What's the lore behind that? X and O Armory on Kano recently? Yeah, I already told the story, Quark. Already did. Tell you. Tell you. Kano's a good pick. Seriously, good pick. None of the card. I actually borrowed Quack's deck in chat. I actually borrowed his. I was like, hey, let me try it this weekend. Let me try it. And man, it was fun to play. It was fun to play. None of the cards are good for her. So I agree with you, right? I don't disagree in any way, right? She really didn't get a whole lot. But to print 80 brute cards and then put one in the expansion slot, it's like, you see what I'm saying? Just from like an image perspective. It's like, and in all fairness, like, what if one ends up being really good, right? That's another thing. Maybe it's not good now. Like, what if Buck Wild makes it into the list? I don't fucking know. I'm just saying, you know, there could be some cars that kind of work their way in there and actually make a difference. And in that case, like, they did get something. There's a high probability that over the course of time they got a card. So spending. Oh, so Ethan's literally here. Um, Now you don't know what you're talking about. I didn't say that. I was quoting chat. Chat said that Levi got nothing from Super Slam. I'm saying that if that's true, XYZ. I'm not. I've seen the deck tech on your video. I know you got the two was the boneyard cards and the new arms and a couple other, other cards. So I know that there has been some carryover from the new set. I just don't know like what that actually looks like when everything's flushed out, really tested. We've gotten a better gauge on how the meta shifts and things like that. Uh, oh, did I say I agreed? Okay, I'm my bad. Then. My bad. And I mean, so you even said you were on the fence about the boneyard cards. So if she only got the arm piece, then like there's a solid argument, right? If I'm not mistaken, in your video, there was only 3 cards. 2 blue boneyards and the arms. So if that is what she got, then you know what I'm saying? But if I said I agree, I agree. It is what it is. Oh man, that's good. Mm-mm-mm. By your logic, if Kano is good, then so combo bolt. Stop. Stop it. Don't do it. Do not do it. Already wrong. Dang. Guess I need to go back and watch it. Oh yeah, show of strength. Duh. God damn. Such an idiot. That's like that's literally the best card you got. What are we talking about? Oh man. Yeah, show of strength, 2 for 8. Pretty good in Levia. Good cost curve. Oh, and vigorous matchup. That's right. One of maybe. I know you had 2 in there. Sinu once claws rotate. That's actually interesting. because that allows a way to scale the hand without needing to go again. What is I don't know. What does Levi do when claws rotate? That's scary. You're gonna have your work cut out for you. Gonna have your work cut out for you. Oh, it was a one up. Okay. I'm okay with being wrong. I just haven't found it yet. I guess. I mean, you know, the thing Levi got is shorter lifetime since KO has taken. I'm sure she'll be able to adapt in some form, whether it's a one to one, probably not, to be honest. But maybe. Um, Hexagore time, just in time that I got rid of my Hexagore, got it to Ethan. So that'd be terrible timing on my behalf, but at least he has it to enjoy it. All right. I'm gonna let chat go for another 5-10 minutes. If anybody has any questions, feel free to throw them in chat as long as they're not about Leviah, clearly, because I have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. But I would love to help anybody that I can answer any questions, whether it be local meta, what to bring, what to sideboard, whatever the case may be. Of course, within my limitations, don't know everything, obviously, and be more than willing to help. I'll go for another 5-10 minutes. When chat kind of dies down, we'll call it for evening. But thanks everybody for joining me so far. I really do appreciate it. Um, I'm excited for PQ season. And somebody also asked, I completely missed it. I skimmed over it. Somebody asked how many ProQuest I'm going to go to, and the answer to that question is I'm not going to one this weekend because I'll be out of town. But I think there is one every weekend after that for the remainder of the season. So I'll probably be going to 2 to 3, give or take. But I literally just sent in my PTI redemption to attend World. So I will be in Philadelphia, locked in. We'll be at Worlds. I'm excited to see everybody and, of course, to just play Worlds, hang out. I don't know what the fuck there is to do in Philly, but we're gonna figure that out along the way, and we'll go from there. Obviously, we can get a Philly. Um, how do you feel about Dorinthia into Brute, Wizard, Draconic, Gravy? So obviously into Gravy, you're fine. Victor, you're also not terrible. A lot of people think that that matchup is like Doomer, but because Victor clashes and pays a higher opportunity cost to run, um, you know, D reacts. The list typically doesn't have a lot of D reacts. I don't know about the new list, right? But the power of Dory into Victor is they have to like put their blocks out front, and then you have the opportunity to respond, whereas the other people don't. You know, or where the Victor player does not have the ability to react after that. They have to just like take their best guess and hope it's good. So that one's not terrible. It's not that great, but it's not terrible. And as far as Draconic, you're just rolling the dice against Syndra. I don't think the matchup's that great. Fang is not where you want to be. They have too many D reacts. And Wizard has historically been okay, to be honest, because you know you're if you can get a counter early, it's actually pretty decent. And then Bruin, I think you're terrible in because Fleshbag literally dumpsters you. Um, so that's my opinion. What is the best fatigue deck in LL if there is one? They put it in chat. It's new CYB. And here's a hot take. Just regular new is a good fatigue deck, right? I think LL is where people are going to actually figure out that like you can just fatigue via aggression. Um, kind of, CYB may or may not make sense depending on the actual length of the games. So your best avenue to actually fatigue is via disruption. So having the sirens calls and the on hit, banish the top card and a card from hand, whatever, all those shenanigans. So regular new may actually just be the best fatigue deck. As crazy as that sounds. But you got to watch out for some even crazier shit like, you know, Drone of Brutality, like what is also in chat. Remember, other decks can play that. So if you don't banish it, they can kind of block some of your stuff at the end of the game and kind of close it out if you do try to fatigue people. Hey, just wondering about balance versus or Blanche versus Runic Wreck in my Florian sideboard. High proportion of gravy and prism at my locals. I'm always in favor of Blanche over Runic Wreck right now. I just don't think there's enough like are you actually hitting prism with the Runic Wreck? Probably not, right? Whereas Blanche and getting cards from prism doesn't solve that situation. And also don't forget, Blanche is not bad against Prism either, right? They don't have yellow cards, aka they don't have go again. So that's actually pretty decent as well. Whereas Runic Wreck literally does nothing against Gravy. Do you think KO should be on Challenge the Alpha or Humble for the mirror? Humble, terrible idea. Challenge the Alpha, I think, is decent mirror tech, but I I would not run it week 1 because we see the bad results from KO, so therefore we're anticipating a little bit of a downshift, not a lot, just a little bit, and we don't know how extreme that is up or down to warrant actually adding sideboard slots. But week 2, week 3, week 4, when we get a better idea, I think it's a very solid idea to bring in Challenge the Alpha. Just the raw value on the card, really solid. What is a good deck to learn the game with and have reasonable power? So I always really it depends on what your aspiration is for the game. If you just want to get a good fundamental like understanding of the game, I always recommend a mid-range hero. And right now, I think the best deck that kind of fits that as far as being good, not being too close to LL and being mid-range, I would say that Kasai is probably the best deck to kind of do that. I also think Verdance is a good pick for that, but I think she's really good right now. I've run a little bit too much of a risk to actually, I don't know. That's just kind of what the vibes are right now as far as, what I would recommend. Got to do mid range. And the reason I say that is want you to experience both sides of the game. I don't want you to play aggro and just lay your hand down on offense and see what people do. Not the whole game. And I don't want you to do the reverse. And I don't want you to start on something that's like overly complicated unless you're just one of those people that just enjoy the challenge, right? So if that's the case, then, go for it, right? If you enjoy like wizards, then go for Verdance. But if not, I would say Kasai. I think Kasai is solid. Kasai historically is not good into wizards. Playing Briar and LL feels like I'm playing a fair deck of the format. Am I wildly off? You are not. I thought it was the time. I thought it was the moment, and it wasn't. It was not. Don't get me wrong. I think Briar is like a solid deck. Like you will probably always see one sneak into top 8, right? Because you get the right combination of cards. It's just really good, right? And it does a lot of the things. The problem is you're not the best at anything. Like literally anything. You're not the best at blocking. You're not the best at aggression. You're like right in that middle ground. And to go along with that, you have a lot of inconsistencies that you have to battle with throughout the game. So really strong deck, like probably top 5, top 6 in the format. But like if you want an aggro deck that's a Rune Blade, play Chain. Hell, even Viscera might be the better play, to be honest, depending on like the average length of the game. If it's longer, it probably favors Chain. If the average length of game is like 4 to 6 turns, it's probably Chain because you get more time for shackles and things like that. If it's like 1 to 4 turns, it's probably Viscera or something like that because you just need that really explosive aspect as far in regards to Rune Blades. That's kind of where my mind is right now. And then Ninja is also the de facto like If you want to be aggressive, play Zen, play hell, even Syndra's pretty decent, believe it or not. And yeah, it's that's kind of where we're at with LL so far. And somebody else is asking about LL. Um, right now, I'm leaning toward Chain or Viscera right now, and I don't think the battle hardened results are like skewing my thought process that much. I think that I was so one thing that I can I can share with you that you can learn from my mistake. When I started evaluating the rune blades on the basis of LL format, I immediately just assumed you gotta fucking run belittle, right? It's banned. How could you not run belittle? I'm gonna save you a whole bunch of time. Please do not fucking play belittle Viscerai. Just don't do it, okay? Just do not. I know it's tempting. You're like, oh, I can do this. Don't. Just do not do it, okay? Save yourself the experience and just play regular Viscerai with Sonata and Skeletor and do the thing, okay? So just because a card is banned, the lesson here is just because there's a card that's banned and it's playable and it kind of makes sense, doesn't mean it's an auto throw it in there and build your deck around it. Do not do that. Don't do it. Is bringing Huntsman to ProQuest the best way to crash your elo? I'm on the verge of just bringing it because it's fun. I mean, go for it. Like literally. Okay. Briar is the exception. Okay. Put belittle in your Briar to do that. Okay. I'm just saying, just because it's banned doesn't mean it auto goes in. That's all I'm saying. But yes, auto put it in your Briar deck. 100%. Um, you should bring it if you enjoy it. Like I think it's like literally as simple as that. If you enjoy it and like you're not like first of all, I mean the ultimate question is are you going to the Pro Tour if you get an invite? If you're not, fucking ball out. Do it for the memes. And if you win, the legend will be remembered. Okay. Like, I mean, everybody's gonna be talking about it. Legendary. I mean, I'm just saying, right? So I say just go for it. And Elo, who gives a shit? At the end of the year, they're literally getting rid of Elo. It will not be a thing anymore. They've said something along those lines that soon ish Elo is gone. I'm this is just total guess. I think they're going to announce the change at the World Championship during the players meeting or whatever the banquet or whatever it is. I think that's where they're actually going to go to like whatever they're going to pro points, whatever they call their system. I think they're going to announce it at the World Championship. Why? Because it just makes the most fucking sense. And they said months and months ago, Elo's not good. It's not what they want, and they're going to change it. So they've had plenty of time, and it's the perfect opportunity to make that announcement. That's when it'll happen, in my opinion. Mhm. All right. I think we did it. We did it. We helped some people out. We helped them pick what they wanted to take to ProQuest. We got corrected by Ethan. I mean, we checked all the boxes on what we wanted to accomplish during this stream. If you did ask questions, thank you so much. I hope I provided some type of value. Maybe it wasn't the perfect answer, but maybe it got you in the right direction or in a couple instances where I refer to other people or other situations, maybe it got you to the right answer. I want to wish you the best of luck during your ProQuest season. First of all, hope you have just an amazing time. Not necessarily winning, but just have an amazing time. And, enjoy it, man. I'm telling you, there's nothing better than that environment. A little bit of competitiveness, but those people that you haven't seen in 3 months, 2 months, however long it's been, you just get to reconnect with them, go hang out, grab dinner with them before or after. It's like the best vibes on the planet. Get out there, play your Pro Quest, and I guess also don't forget there's the new rule: if you win one, you can't register for another one. Don't forget that. that'd be an awkward situation. Uh, but yeah, thank you so much for engaging in chat. And yeah, I hope I provided that value. And if you did not catch the live stream, obviously hit me up in Discord, just ping me in the general chat, whatever the case, or leave a comment if you want a similar question answered. I'll do my best to get to it before this weekend. And yeah, I just want to make sure everybody has the opportunity to have their question answered. And I hope everybody has a great weekend and best luck to everybody during their ProQuest. Take care, and I will see everybody